Welcome to the Creative Plan Podcast Network. Join us as we share our favorite RPGs, one-shot games, tabletop games, reviews of items, and convention panels, and other exciting things that we run into from time to time. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Kelly, aka Trixie from Ragnarok and Roll, a Sign to Ragnarok story, and Tilda Wimblewick from D&D Journey of the 5th Edition. First off, I would just like to say thank you to everyone for listening to our varied adventures, as well as for rating us on iTunes and RPGpodcast.com. If you haven't rated us yet, we would greatly appreciate it if you could. And if you're looking for more ways to support our efforts, we are now on Patreon, a great site where you can help us continue making more podcasts, as well as some special surprises for our patrons. If you can, please look us up at www.patreon.com/cppn. Every little bit helps. And again, thank you for listening.
Hey guys, Jim and Kelly here with Creative Plan Podcast Network, and it is August the 22nd for RPGaDay. We have not lost our way because today's word is...
Lost?
So what you got for lost?
Well, let's see here. I have been in games before where characters have just lost their way. It's got to be careful of, first of all, you can lose your way. Where the hell are we? What are we doing? We're trying to find the MacGuffin.
Roll a survival check.
Exactly. We've all been lost in that regards and stuff. But it's the characters who lose their identity, so to speak. They don't know. They've sort of lost their path.
They lost their story.
Yeah, so, you have, like, in D&D, you have character alignment and stuff. So, hey, I'm lawful good. But then you start doing these horrible, horrible, horrible things. Yeah, you've lost your way. And I like it when, no, you can't do that. It's like, wait a minute. And eventually you're going to have to say, you know what?
There's a consequence.
Guess what? Yeah, there is a consequence. And depending on the character class, that can have a huge impact. Say, for example, you're a cleric or a paladin of a good god, and you're doing horrible, horrible, horrible things. Your alignment is slipping, okay? And then they're going to go, no. Your magic is divine. You're channeling divinity through the god. So your god's going to say, nope, sorry, you're cut off.
Lost grace.
Exactly. Now, at that point, your character has some choices.
You have lost your way.
You have lost your way. Now, whether or not they're capable of finding it again, but more than likely, they're going to have to take a different path. So, but try to be conscious of that type of thing. I know a lot of people, and I, for one, love playing chaotic characters because, you have a little more...
Wiggle.
Yeah, you have more wiggle room and stuff. I traditionally play like chaotic good or chaotic neutral, but I also have characters that make sense with, Like, I have a cleric of a good god, but she's chaotic good, and it's because of her background. She's a tiefling who was, like, raised in the worst possible slums, treated horribly by her family, beaten near to death, left, to die, when a cleric, basically finds her, saves her, shows her a new life. And she does. She's dedicated now to not only that God, but following in the example of the man who saved her. But she still has this background of, there's a darkness, and that she's trying to, that's why she's a cleric of the god Pilar, the light and,
the sun.
Exactly. And part of it is because she's trying to banish the darkness within her, too. So it's like, but if I went more towards the chaotic and did some horrible things, and I kept continuing to do horrible things, Paler's going to no longer shine his light on her, and that she will fall back into darkness. And from there, she has but one choice. She's going to embrace a different path.
If she goes that way. So
exactly.
That's the beauty of a character.
But I see that she will never do that.
I don't see Sister Souls.
We have had other characters where, no, dude, sorry. Your character has slipped too far. Fortunately, they weren't a pally or a cleric or anything. Change your alignment.
Would you like to be a warlock while you're at it?
Yeah, really.
Many, many gods are offering you many, many paths.
But, your character can get lost.
Yeah.
They can lose their way, and it has actual consequences.
So for Lost, for me, I'm going to go from the GM point of view, is there's nothing cooler than when your players are lost on the map. I'm a huge fan of games like Tomb of Annihilation had it in the newest adventure, 5th edition, and the RPG Forbidden Lands went back and embraced that old 1st and 2nd edition hex crawl style game, where your GM threw out a map of hexes and said, "What direction are you going? Roll me a survival roll. Let me see. Oh yeah, you totally think you went that direction. No, you didn't. You're lost." But part of the adventure was getting lost and finding your way, because that way you could experience going through an unknown region, totally ridiculously lost, and figuring it out along the path. I'm a huge fan of those type of games, so that way you can have the players really pushing that third aspect in D&D, which is the exploration. Back in the day when players would draw out the hex maps themselves on the dungeon of what it was like, because they knew the GM would not show them on a map. They would just say, there's a left and right turn up ahead, which way are you going? And if you had one of your cartographer friends playing, they would be sitting there mapping out the dungeon as you're exploring it, because as soon as you turn back, you're hosed. Because your GM's not going to leave this beautifully detailed map on the table for you to tell where you're going. Which, of course, I'm a fan of the fog of war, covering up parts of the map, so the group can't see what's coming up ahead. Because sometimes when you draw that map with this big, obvious treasure room / throne room, the group will bypass all of these things and go straight for that one room. Usually to only find out it's an empty room and not the place they want to go to at all. Purely death traps. And then go back to the adventure. Which, one thing as a GM is, don't be afraid to change up your dungeon. Because if you do lay out your gorgeous map and they see all of the map, and they assume something is something, you can always change that around. You can always move monsters' dens around from different locations as long as they make sense. So don't be afraid of, even if a GM gets lost in the map, sometimes you lose your index and you're making shit up. Don't be afraid to get lost, because that's how you find cool things, or a really bad TV show.
Another thing for Lost, specifically in a GM's point of view, is it's a great impetus for a game.
Yeah.
Some MacGuffin has been lost, and you have to go get it. So, heck, that's always, you need something to basically drive or motivate the characters. This great, fabulous thing is lost. Or, no, this poor person is lost. Go find them. Mm-hmm. Lost is a way to...
It's a powerful motivator.
Exactly.
And it's a great story item because, like in every detective book. Hello, Detective Mr. Here's my missing MacGuffin. Can you go find it? Whether it's a dog, a daughter, a sister, a wife, it's a great story element to use in an adventure because, hey, the king comes to you guys at the tavern. I have lost my daughter to the local dragon. Go find where my daughter is, And then you can find out there's more to the story. That the daughter and the dragon are actually a thing, and, it's not that he lost his daughter, it's that she ran away. And then you have to find all the problems out there that,
horrible tax collectors don't want the daughter to know what's going on out there, so they're covering things up. So Lost is a great tool on so many angles, as from a player too. Don't just pick the background that you've lost your parents and you are an orphan. How about your parents were kidnapped and disappeared? Look at the classic X-Men. Cyclops lost his parents. Lo and behold, in the 80s it was discovered his father was a space pirate.
Oh my god.
Think about it. How much fun as a player would that be, of saying, okay, I lost my parents in a storm, I washed ashore, I became a pirate character in high seas shenanigans. Later on, you run into a pirate captain, and when you announce who you are by your original given name, the bosun on the other ship keeps eyeballing you and eyeballing you. And if the GM plays it out well, he thinks this old, gristly sea dog bosun is going to jump you as soon as you give him a chance. And all of a sudden, it's really when you have that tense moment where he catches you alone, and the player thinks, oh God, I'm a dead man. And when you think he's going to pull that dagger and stab you, he actually comes up and hugs you and tells you that I'm Bootstrap Bill.
I was just going to say, and it's the Pirates of the Caribbean.
I saw that glint in your eye.
Oh my god.
And you're like, I'm your long-lost father.
Yeah.
So Lost, is hell, Star Wars, Darth Vader, the lost father.
I'm your father.
Search your lost feelings. It's true.
No.
So Lost is something that can always be used nicely. And it can always be an adventure. Say your group is looking for a treasure map. You know what? Bad guy burns the treasure map to powder and it's destroyed. Well, then you have to find out further in the story of okay, who's the one that saw the map last? Who could have copied the map? So even though you lost the MacGuffin, there might be another angle to follow. Hell, it could just be you want to kill the guy who just burned it and you speak the dead to get the map out of the dead guy. That's an option. So never be afraid to use really cool MacGuffin tricks like I'm blanking on the Pirates movie. We all know it. We've talked about it before. All of a sudden you think the group has lost the pirate map, and then you find out your uncle has it actually tattooed to his head. So there's a great GM trick.
Yellowbeard?
No, not Yellowbeard.
Yeah, the tattoo of the map is on the kid's head.
No, I'm talking about on the uncle's head.
Oh, you're talking about Cutthroat Island.
Yeah. I was waiting for you to pop off with that when I was throwing the little teasers out there.
Bad dog.
Uncle Doug gets his day. Another good pirate movie. It's good and it's badness. I know you're going to say.
Yeah. No, actually, it was pretty well
Had
done.
great scenes. Look at the fact that the storyline of they had a map in Latin and they had lost the ability to read Latin, so they needed to get someone who could read Latin, even though he couldn't.
Certain of the lines, I really hated the uncle. I'm sorry. I just thought the acting and all that thing was bad. But the rest of it was actually, I thought it was very strangely cast.
Mm-hmm. It's very eclectic.
Yeah. But it worked.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that certain things were like, yeah, I'm sorry, that was a bad line.
Yeah.
Bad dog.
Yeah. But let's not get lost in the details here.
Yeah.
Never be afraid to have your players lose their treasure and have it buried on a map to find later, because that's just another adventure waiting to happen. Let the bad guys get away with the MacGuffin, because, well, that just makes them hate the bad guys even more. Mm-hmm. And don't lose track of what the plot is. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to reinvent the plot, but don't lose track of what the plot is. Don't be afraid to tell your players, you guys are this, doing this because of this.
Yeah, because side quests and other things can divert.
Some players,
and you lose your way.
You lose the track of, and you'll even have that in a player group. They will say, "What are we here doing again?" Because just remember, in-game time and story time and real life time are 3 separate timelines. And sometimes you need to remind your group that, by the way, 5 minutes ago in-game, you were doing this. Mm-hmm. And they forgot because they were playing 2 hours of real life time fighting. Oh yeah, we were here for this thing. So never be afraid to remind people not to get lost when you're playing your RPGs and all the different ways that you can lose it. And never let your game become Lost, the TV show.
Oh, it lost its way badly.
It lost its way. Alrighty, guys. Like always, thank you for listening, and we'll see you tomorrow on the 23rd.
Down in the depths of the mountain, we dwarves spend our time forging powerful weapons, mining precious gems and metals, and feasting like kings. But after a day of digging for the next Arkenstone, this dwarf likes to come home to a package full of loot. Dungeon Crate is a monthly subscription box service forged specifically for RPG and tabletop gamers. Miniatures, dice, tokens, coins, maps, modules, terrain pieces, handcrafted items, RPG jewelry, and more are yours for only a few gold per month. You even get a digital crate along with a physical one as an added bonus. So are you brave enough to reward yourself with a Dungeon Crate? By Morden's beard, I hope so. DungeonCrate.com. Let the adventure begin.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Play and Podcast Network. And feel free to enjoy our other shows, such as D&D Journey of the 5th Edition and Scion Ragnarok and Roll, a Scion hero to Ragnarok story. Thank you for listening.